Marguerite Soeterman-Reinen is one of the leading executives at global insurance brokerage and professional services firm Aon. Marguerite is the chairman of the executive board of Aon Holdings and global chief marketing officer, and member of the executive committee of Aon Import. Aon's investment arm recently acquired CoverWallet, the digital insurance platform for SME. This is just one example of the company's expanding position in the digital insurance space. Marguerite is also a strong advocate of diversity, inclusive leadership and sustainable finance. Marguerite visited Roger in the DIA offices to discuss her view on the future of insurance, and virtually all subjects above crossed the table.
Great to have you here, Marguerite.
Thanks, Roger.
Neatly according to the guidelines.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Meter and a half. Are you still working at home or already at the office?
Yes, I'm still working from home. I've done so since end of February. It's time for a change. It's time for a COVID-free world. Let's work for that.
Yeah, it's weird times, right?
Yeah.
And the impact is also very significant, not only on personal lives, but of course also on the life of insurance companies. When we discuss this with insurance executives, we experience that the impact is significant, but also positive in a sense that they really realize that it's time to really move forward on digital.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So thank you for the question. So I think that what we've seen is that the world without COVID was already challenging enough and starting to get increasingly challenging. Just to name a few of the complexities which are crossing our path nowadays, it's the geopolitical situation, climate change, regulatory circumstances, the gig economy which is growing very fast, and all of them together actually is now ensuring that with COVID-19 added to it, that we've seen that digitization has accelerated, and that all of those speed with all those developments, that we see that traditional business models have great difficulty to cope with the new better, which we call it nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So real-time 24/7 data is necessary in order to know what you're talking about, to know what you should be doing. And it's not only it's affecting our whole life. So everything is changing. Whether it's at home, whether it's in the office, whether it's in industries, whether it's at universities, whether it's in nature. And so it requires a proactive mindset to tackle those issues.
Yeah, I can relate to that, especially in the days when there was a real lockdown. Many incumbents who really relied on the face-to-face channels, that was shut down immediately. They sort of got the idea, hey, our face-to-face channels used to be a differentiator, but now it isn't even a qualifier. Our sales is stopping because our brokers and agents cannot work in the way that they used to.
Yeah, so I think that we have found ways to tackle the situation. Resilience is a big word, but it requires actions.
Yeah.
I think that we see a twofold revolution starting to happen. On the one hand, we see that more and more data is generated by clients and by employees. On the other hand, we see an uplift of all the various technologies, which we most likely will discuss later as well. And that revolution is actually extremely important for insurance companies to realize, okay, what do we do with it and how do we handle it? And it's not only about digital or about technology or about having the employees, it's also about the analytical mindset of the leadership of an insurance company and the analytical culture in it as well.
New kind of investments taking place, and that's absolutely key also to get out of the situation that many incumbents face currently. But we do see that they really focus on solving the frictions that they currently experience. So trying to do business remotely, basically. But that of course doesn't really help to think beyond the crisis and help to move forward on that pace.
The challenge is, of course, to lead your company to the unknown with still a short-term profitable result. And I think that what we've seen in the past months is that, especially on the investments in the insurtech industries, we've seen a deceleration of the investments. Late-stage investments had some issues. We saw the digitization journey change. And of course, that's for a lot of companies, they simply push the stop button. And let's take a look what's going on and how should we assess and what should we address.
Yeah, that's also what we hear. On the one hand, they really get the idea that digital is now more essential than ever. And on the other hand, the whole crisis and everything that goes with it makes them stop big investments. It makes them put programs on hold, even in digital transformation. Cost savings, operational excellence emphasis, even more than used to be. And it sort of distracts from the need to think beyond the crisis and make sure that you keep on being relevant for your customers over a longer period.
Yeah, I think that especially the relevance to customers is a very important item. On the one hand, those customers are indeed used to the experience they have with companies like Amazon and Uber. So they're used to a
really
complete different experience.
Exactly, changes their expectations on what they also get from incumbents.
And I think this is the big challenge for the insurance industry, because we've been used till Lloyd's Coffee House to conduct business in a certain manner. So I think what we've seen now is that the macroeconomic environment and all the complexities attached to it are creating a need and a necessity for insurers to act. And there's simply no way back, because you want to make sure that your customers are happy. And I call it a kiss of death if you don't embrace it.
Kiss of death?
Yeah.
That's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement, but I think that the customers' expectations are now increasingly changing. And the lifespan of companies, which is measured by S&P, as you know, was 67 years a few years ago. It's changed into 50, and I think it will be even shorter with this crisis. You need to act, and you need to actually play to win as an insurance company, not play not to lose. That's a different mindset.
I think that many insurers, they look at all the new players that come to the market, the challengers, and I must say I also agree with them that only few are able to really make a difference in terms of market share. But we don't know really what Amazon and Google and Facebook are doing, so we may need to be a bit careful in what we say here. But you know the industry as no one else. So what would be like the big imperfections, the underserved segments that you think that might prove to be very attractive for those new players?
I think that first and foremost for the insurance companies, of course, the challenge is the double-edged sword. They have, which is a McKinsey study, the making of a digital insurer. 9 out of 10 insurers are facing issues because of legacy IT systems. On the other hand, they see that they need to serve the new demands of clients, the customer experience. And they have challenges with this because they're not always equipped to do so. And by this situation, new players have a big advantage. So they don't have the IT legacy, they can, digital first, they can adapt to the situation. And so I think back to what this is about, is how do you remain relevant as an insurance company, which have been existing for over a lot of years. And they do have, magnitude and skill, let's be honest, that's also what they bring to the table. But it needs a strategy. And I think the strategy to go forward is to look beyond what's currently happening, what's required to actually adapt to all the changes now, but what should you do? Maybe it actually requires anti-cyclical behavior and decisions. And back to the investments in InsurTech, and back to your remark about what's happening now on all the remote working. I think that true leadership is able to not only look at the now, but also look at the day after the now. But the future is with us now. And a tangible example just to indicate how quickly it goes and how exponentially the growth is for me just an example of devices. In 2015, there were only 15 billion devices. In 2020 now, we have 50 billion devices and 1 trillion sensors. And it's expected that it will be 500 billion devices in 2030 and 100 trillion sensors. And of course that has an impact also to our industry, whether it's claims, insurance, etc.
Well, I think this is very interesting because when you look at the pace in which those new technologies are adopted, to really have a bottom line and top line impact at insurance firms, we see that there are a lot of pilots, there are a lot of investments, a lot of proof of concepts, but adoption at scale, that's very limited. And you can see also, with those new connected devices that you mentioned, whole new bulk of data streams coming to the new data capabilities that you need. So also how to turn the data into insights and into new propositions for customers. So how do you cope with the challenge of creating adoption at scale? Because at some point you need to.
Now, the tone of the top is extremely important. So the tone of the top requires the leadership to be aware of what's analytical, what are analytics, what are data analytics.
Yeah.
Do we have the right data? So it requires, how do you structure the data? How do you actually process data? You know, we've seen that there are data. We added unstructured data. We're making insights of them. And I think that the challenging part for the insurance industry will be is not so much technology and the investments in it, because actually, while we're discussing it, I think there is enough money in the financial services industry.
True, it's the easy part.
And you know, back to a number, I think there was 187 billion invested in IT in the insurance industry in 2017 or 2018. And so there is enough money, but then the question is, where do they invest it? And in order to take a look now, I think it's important to not only look at operational investing, but looking beyond and looking into future investing and take a look, what's the requirement of a customer? How do we need to anticipate those demands? And what should we do in order to make those changes?
So it should start with the customer. That's always good.
Yeah.
What do you think, in your view, are the key elements of those new customer demands? The new customer needs that we need to cater to, not only today, but foremost tomorrow and the day after.
Yeah, that's take a look at our children, because they want 24/7, they want real time, they want on demand, usage-based, all the things we all know about. And that requires not a segment approach, but it requires from insurers also a tailored customer approach. And data is enabling them to do so if they embrace the data. But the tailored approach to each and every individual customer, I think, is the secret to the success of how to work around what's going on. But it requires, let go of silo thinking. Mm-hmm. The customer should be centric. So I think what we're seeing also in the broking end, we're no longer putting the silos in like property, casualty. Of course, we still think in those terminologies, but we're looking at what does the customer actually really need? How can we service his needs? How can we help him overcome the risks?
And to integrate offerings with
exactly,
that.
yeah.
Well, also when we discuss the topic of data with insurance executives, many say that because they already have a lot of data, they think they know it all already.
Yeah, but complacency is the biggest risk.
Absolutely.
To innovation. So if you're complacent, you will simply not even allow yourself to have an open mind look about what's going on and how to anticipate it. I think that...
So that's again about culture and leadership. So taking it to investing in the future, leadership, what would be like the three key talents of the leader to make such a change happen and to really create that vision on the future, but not just the vision, but also really making it happen?
So I think leadership requires modesty, so curiosity, and willingness to learn.
So it's modesty, curiosity, and willingness to learn. Yeah. I find it very remarkable, because that's usually what you would not expect as an answer. It's really about going to trenches and do things yourself.
Yeah, but I think it's very important that if you're modest, you're not bold, you're still something, okay, what's out there? You have an inside outlook, but also you're willing to get an outside in look on the situation. Yeah. If you're curious, you're actually willing to put your point on the horizon maybe a little bit further than it is today. So it creates also more ambition. Mm-hmm. And the willingness to learn is an instrumental part in order to ask questions and in order to engage with other people. Because if you're curious, nice, but if you don't have willingness to learn, then you'll never be able to actually reposition yourselves and maybe position it in a new strategy. And I think especially now with the traditional business models really being in jeopardy, you need to unlock data, you need to take a look at real-time opportunities, and you need to set yourself up for the insurance company of the future.
Well, if I would mirror that, like on the executive boards of most insurance companies, I would not say that those three talents that you mentioned are dominant in those boardrooms.
That's maybe also because I think what's really important is that we've seen, of course, in the insurance industry a lot of undiverse boards. I think we now really see it changing rapidly. So there's a very good movement and a positive trend of having more women being appointed, also cultural diversity being appointed. It actually enables more diverse exchange of thought and opinion. But it's one to have people of color or gender diversity teams on board. It's extremely important to collaborate and to actually listen to each other and learn from each other in order to, to be a good leader.
And to make things happen.
Yeah.
I think it's also about unlocking talent then.
Yeah, so I think that if you look for me at the trends of 2020 and 2021, I think one of the most important one is talent. Why? Because I see that a lot of talent who are graduating from university are not choosing for insurance, they're actually choosing for consulting, finance or technology. So somehow the insurance world is not actually attractive to them. Especially the InsurTech contingent has an important role to play because it is attractive. It is really full of energy. So I think in that respect, the InsurTech can actually bridge this talent gap for the insurance industry. And second, also, if you're taking a look at as an insurance company, if you can partner with an InsurTech who's looking to scale up, how fantastic to actually partner with such good talent.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I think also there's an opportunity for insurance companies to show more what kind of social impact and economic impact they have, and the potential that they have in that area.
Yeah.
And that would actually also do something for the employer branding of the whole industry, probably.
Yeah, and I think that. Personal comment on Aon. Our mission is to empower human and economic possibility. So we have very much taken a close look at this because it's also about purpose. Yeah. And a generation which is now at university and at high schools, they're really looking at purpose and planet. And performance comes along if that's taken well care of.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think there's also an opportunity for incumbent insurers to embrace those technologies that will help them also to further in increasing their social impact. We've seen some great examples in Asia on how microinsurance concepts are being delivered via mobile platforms, for instance, or the sensors that you mentioned, how to apply them to weather storms, almost literally, and floods and things like that. Yeah. But to make that tangible to the labor market, I think that would be a nice way forward to also attract the kind of talent that you need to look for, competing with the Googles and the Amazons and the Facebooks.
And I think that what you see now also, there's more and more attention also on the sustainable development goals and insurance. And so we're now getting into the chapters of sustainable finance, which is a way where we're looking at, how do we make sure that from a finance perspective we support the sustainable development goals. Yeah. And we have an important role to play as insurance industry and financial services industry. And I think that, those are all very good reasons to take those topics extremely seriously.
So what would be your key advice then for the InsurTech industry, for instance, moving forward, and for the insurance executives that are watching you right now? Yeah. What would be the key takeaway that you would advise them to work on for the next few years?
I think first and foremost, to the InsurTech world, keep on innovating. The reason why there is development and why there's progress is because you're making your dreams come true, and you actually build your dreams into new opportunities and solutions. For the insurance companies, I think it requires courageous leadership. Think beyond the now. Take a look. We're talking a lot about the future, but the future is with us now. It came quicker and faster than we thought it would be. So it requires not talking about agile, but it requires outcome-based action, not even action-based. A lot of people say, we need to do actions. No, you need to really start managing for outcomes. Because the generations of my children, they want outcome. They don't want me to talk. They say, Mom, don't talk, do the walk.
So it's about the kiss of death, and it's about being courageous, and it's about walk the talk.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Marguerite.
You're welcome. Thank you.